And this guy just poured salt in my wounds. It's actually quite a beautiful thing if it's used in the right way, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm staring at this girl and she's going to think, I don't know what she's going to think, but it's not going to be good. Hello, welcome to Her Radiant Life. I am Andrea Gal, and I am so happy that you're here. If you would like to return for other similar content, I would implore you to subscribe below. We would love to have you here. Today I want to talk about something that I remember 30 years later, and it was honestly the tiniest thing that happened that the other person has no clue for sure that it even happened. But over 30 years later, I remember it. And I've been thinking lately about the impact that we have on the people around us. And I'm not just talking about the people that we work with and our families and our friends and the people that we love. I'm talking about strangers, the people we come in contact with at the grocery store, on the phone to customer service. These everyday people that we don't even give a second thought to afterwards. But I want to talk about the fact that we do have impact on these people. And I want to show you just how much. I have two stories that I want to share with you about the impact that people have had on me in the past. One of these stories was something that healed my heart, and I remember over 30 years later. And the second one is someone who poured salt in a wound, a stranger who had no idea, and I still remember it 16 years later. When I was a preteen, about 11 or 12 years old, although I have previously told you I have a wonderful childhood, and I did. I had a wonderful childhood at home. But at school, I was teased a lot. I was teased about my weight. I came into school from homeschooling into a public school at a very hard time in grade 6. So the cliques were already formed. It felt very difficult to be involved and be accepted. So I struggled a lot with my self-confidence. I was quite insecure at that age. So I was around 11 or 12 years old, and my family, we went to Virginia Beach for a vacation, which we did pretty much every year. So my family was all in a store, and I wanted to go out on the boardwalk and just sit on a bench and wait for them. So I told them I was going out. I went and I sat on the bench. And as I was sitting there, I was just people watching. An insecure 11 or 12-year-old on vacation with her family, and all of a sudden I saw this woman. She was probably in her early to mid 20s, and I just thought, she's so pretty. She's so lucky. She looked happy and vibrant. I loved her clothing. And so I just stared at her as she was walking down the sidewalk. And I didn't even realize I was staring, but I was having all these thoughts in my mind as she was walking closer to me. And then she looked over and she saw me staring. And I remember in that moment, because I was not very confident, thinking, oh my gosh, I'm staring at this girl and she's going to think, I don't know what she's going to think, but it's not going to be good. She's going to give me a dirty look, or she's going to be like, why are you looking at me? But actually, she smiled at me. A vibrant, beautiful smile, friendly. She did not mind that I was staring at her because she was confident and she was happy and free. I remember in that moment thinking, I want to be like that when I grow up. I want to smile at people who are staring at me, or younger people than me who maybe are not so confident in life. I still remember that. I was 11 or 12 and now I'm 44. So 32 years ago, one smile on vacation. Now, this girl has no idea who she is. Even if she ended up watching this video, she would have no idea that it was her. She didn't say anything to me. We didn't have any kind of major interaction. It was only that smile. And look at the impact it had on me this many years later. And I often think about her because I'll be out somewhere and I'll see a young girl, or I'll see even a baby or a 5-year-old or even adults. And I naturally smile at them. It's something I've had to teach myself how to do because you have to be confident. You have to know that they're not always going to smile back at you. I don't even know if I smiled back at that woman when I was 11 or 12 years old. But it didn't matter to her. She smiled for the sake of smiling at me. And that is what I do with people now. It's why I try not to go out shopping or to places in public when I'm in a bad mood, because I want to be the person that smiles at other people, not the impatient person. I don't always succeed, but that's what I try. The fact that her smile is now the butterfly effect, where it is affecting other people from my life, strangers that I come in contact with, and now I smile at and maybe make their day. Maybe they remember that for years and years. It's pretty amazing, because that all started from her smiling at me in Virginia Beach over 30 years ago. So that is one goal that I have actually very much achieved, because I thought I want to be like her when I'm older. And I am, because of her. So to whoever that girl is, thank you for that smile. I'm emotional because it actually meant so much to me and has impacted me enough to do what she did at that time. Now I do it. And that's a beautiful thing. Now, the second story I want to tell is actually the opposite of that. We really don't know what people are carrying in life. We don't know what they're going through. And that is actually the point of this story. The year that both of my parents died, I had lost my dad in January 2009, and then I lost my mom in April 2009. And that birthday in December 2009, it was really hitting me again, like a fresh wave of grief. And now it did last a lot longer than that, but I had gotten this like extra fresh wave of grief going into my first birthday without them, and then going into Christmas without them. The first ones, those are always the hardest, and anyone who's lost someone knows this. I decided for my birthday to take 7 or 8 friends, and we went to go see The Spirit of Christmas. Now, this is a Christmas show. They dance and they sing, and it was quite beautiful, and I wanted something that felt really good because I felt so horrible. I wanted a night of distraction. I wanted to be with my friends. I didn't really want to go out. That was something I had to learn to push myself to do, while all I wanted to do was curl up in bed and stay there forever. But I made myself go, and I remember thinking, like, I'm not that happy. I'm not really enjoying this, but I need the distraction. And so I'm going to go, and I'm going to try and have a good time with my friends. Well, we sit in the row that we're in, and there was this guy behind me, and I'm tall. I'm 5'11", and my torso is the tall part. So when I sit, I'm tall as well. And he started yipping about how tall I was and that he couldn't see and all that kind of stuff. Instead of just shifting, or instead of just switching seats with someone or whatever, he just went on and on. And I felt like a mixture of anger and embarrassment and frustration and sadness welling up inside of me. Look, I was grieving so deeply the loss of my parents. I was trying to just have a nice night with my friends, even though I wasn't happy. And this guy just poured salt in my wounds. He ruined it for me. I felt the entire show like I'm too tall. I'm in this guy's way. I could not enjoy it. I was trying so hard to enjoy like a night out with my friends. That guy is not a monster. I don't think he is. Maybe he is, but I don't think he is. And I feel like if he knew at this moment that 16 years ago he did that to me, and I still remember it, and I still actually feel that moment of pain. I still remember exactly how it felt. He would probably feel horrible. But that is the actual point of this, is that you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what they're carrying inside their head, inside their heart. You don't know what kind of pain they're going through. And being a jerk, even lightly like that, can ruin an outing that they push themselves to go to, even though they were in grief or full of anxiety or extremely stressed out about finances or family or health or loss or whatever it is. We don't know what's going on in those inner worlds. And that's why we need to think about the impact that we're making on people around us. Now, you can be neutral. I do think that if you're in a bad mood, you don't need to be going and smiling at every single person and pretending to fake to be happy. but at least be neutral. At least be neutral. People are all carrying these invisible worlds inside of them that we don't see. And some people are really good at faking being happy when they're not. So you can't even just go by the fact that they're laughing, that they're okay. It's something for us to be very mindful of, especially around Christmas. You may be watching this around Christmas time when I post it, or you may be watching it years later. But just know that this applies anytime, but especially at Christmas, all these griefs and wounds resurface because it's a time of hope and cheer and happiness and beauty. Yes, it can be, but it can also be a time of deeper sadness and loss and what people are trying to survive through. So just be mindful of that. It's actually quite a beautiful thing if it's used in the right way, the impact and the level of impact that we have on people. But just make sure you're using that impact and that power in the right way. When people say, be kind, I agree, be kind. But if you understand the depth, even in those two stories that I just told, if you understand the depth of how much that can impact somebody's life and how much they'll remember it 16 years later, 30 years later, even when they're old and gray, you'll have more of a motivation to be kind. You'll have the why. Why should I be kind? Why should I smile at this 11-year-old? Why should I not be a doofus and mock a girl for her height sitting in front of me? Because you don't know what she's going through. Period. You don't know what she's going through. Don't be that person that ruins her night or his night. I'm not going to pretend I've never been rude to anybody before. Clearly, I'm human. I'm not perfect. And when I was actually going through my hardest years, that was extra hard for me to be nice. It was extra hard for me to be patient. And a lot of times I was not. I can admit that. But I can also look at that and know that I've grown. And that lately, especially, I've just been so much more conscious of it. I make faces at kids and I smile at them in the store. And then I see them throughout my shopping, like them looking for me. You don't know how much of an impact you're making on that kid. What if that kid doesn't get smiled at and played with at home? I've even been in a place in my life where I forgot my wallet or didn't have the right amount of money for something that I was buying and someone handed me $1. It was $1. $1. But the impact it had on me was this world is kind. People can be beautiful and giving. And I'm not alone. I think that is ultimately what it is. You don't feel alone when you're making those connections with people. The tiniest things. You don't have to give them $100 gift card. I mean, that'd be very nice if you did that. But it's the little things. Next time you're tempted to be rude to someone, a stranger, I hope you do think about this. And instead, I hope you let them go in line before you. I hope you give them a smile. I hope you laugh with an elderly person, just making a cute little joke with them, because that might be their only outing this entire week. You might be the only person they talk to this week. Wouldn't it be nice knowing that their interaction for the week was a beautiful one? That they can still have hope for humanity and feel connected to kindness? I think about this a lot lately. The people that are going through a hard time, the impact that you have on them, be the reason that they feel connected, be the reason that they can smile back. Or even if they don't, just know that you did your part. You smiled. And just like me, when I was smiled at by that girl when I was 11 or 12 years old in Virginia Beach, 30 years later talking about it on my YouTube channel, 30 years later thinking about it often and thinking, yeah, these smiles have an impact on the people I'm smiling at. Be that person. Be the story that someone tells 20 or 30 years later where you were the beautiful one that smiled at them. That these interactions that we have between us and strangers impacts our world, impacts that person. And then they go impact the next person based on your interaction. That's huge. That's the butterfly effect, where a butterfly across the world flaps its wings and it causes wind over here. Be the butterfly that's causing beauty. That's all I want to say. I hope that you go out and spread some kindness and beauty and smiles. And I also hope that you like it if you like it. Like it down below if you liked the video. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you for being here. Now go out. Be a blessing with your smiles. Be a blessing and rise into your radiance. Bye.